Every experienced camper knows the rules. Never camp alone near water. Never follow animal sounds at night. Never leave your tent after 2 a.m. These 4 people broke them. None of them came home. These aren't arbitrary guidelines. These aren't superstitions passed down by paranoid rangers. These are protocols written in blood. Rules that exist because people before you didn't follow them and disappeared. Tonight, you're going to hear about 4 documented disappearances. 4 people who broke specific camping safety rules. 4 cases where search and rescue teams found wrong things, impossible things, things that don't make sense, clothing folded neatly miles from camp, gear arranged in patterns, bodies found in places they couldn't have physically reached, or bodies never found at all, just evidence that something took them. These cases are documented in National Park Service missing persons files. The families have been notified. The investigations remain open. The rangers who worked these searches refuse to discuss what they found. Because when you break the rules in the wilderness, you don't just risk injury or getting lost. You risk becoming something else, something the forest keeps. And the forest? It doesn't give back what it takes. Case 1. Never camp alone near water. Location: Olympic National Park, Washington. Date: July 2017. Missing person: Derek Lawson, 38, experienced backpacker. Status: body found. Circumstances unexplained. The rule: never camp alone within 100 feet of moving water. If solo camping is necessary, maintain minimum 150-foot distance from rivers, streams, or lake shores. Derek Lawson had backpacked the Pacific Northwest for 15 years. He knew the trails, knew the protocols, knew the risks. His trip plan was filed properly. 5 days on the Hoh River Trail, ending at Blue Glacier. Day 1 went as planned. Derek's GPS tracker showed normal progress. He checked in via satellite phone at 6 p.m. from his campsite at Glacier Meadows, exactly where he said he'd be. He made one deviation from his filed plan. Instead of camping at the designated site 200 feet from the Hoh River, he set up his tent on a gravel bar directly next to the water, maybe 15 feet from the river's edge. His final text message to his wife at 8:47 p.m. Camp set up. River sounds amazing. Love you. When Derek didn't check in the next evening, his wife contacted park rangers. Search and rescue was dispatched immediately. They found his camp at first light. Tent still standing, sleeping bag laid out, gear organized, food bag still hanging properly from a bear line. But Derek was gone, and everything about the scene was wrong. The tent door was open, not unzipped but torn, ripped fabric, as if something had forced its way in from the outside. But there were no claw marks, no bear prints, no signs of any animal. Derek's boots were outside the tent, placed neatly side by side, laces still tied. His headlamp was inside the tent, turned on, battery dead, and leading away from the tent toward the river. Footprints, Derek's footprints, barefoot, in the mud. Search and rescue followed the tracks. They led directly to the water's edge and stopped. No tracks coming back, no signs of entry into the water, no disturbed rocks, just footprints ending at the river. They searched the river downstream for 3 miles. Divers searched the pools and rapids. Nothing. On day 3 of the search, a ranger found something 2 miles downstream, on the opposite bank. Derek's shirt, folded, placed on a flat rock in the middle of the riverbank. Not snagged on debris, not torn, folded. The rock was 40 feet from the water. To reach it, Derek would have had to cross the river. Impossible. Current was too strong. Climb a steep embankment and walk into dense forest. On day 7, they found Derek, 6 miles upstream from his camp, on a rocky outcrop 200 feet above the river, in a location with no trail access, requiring technical climbing to reach. Derek Lawson had been an experienced backpacker, but he had no climbing gear, no ropes, no experience with technical ascents. Yet there he was, lying on his back on the outcrop, arms at his sides, face peaceful, barefoot, wearing only his pants. No shirt, no jacket. No injuries. The medical examiner found no cause of death. No trauma, no drowning, no hypothermia, no drugs or alcohol, no evidence of a heart attack or stroke. Derek Lawson was just dead, on a cliff face he couldn't have climbed, 6 miles from where he'd last been seen. The ranger who led the search, a 20-year veteran named Patricia Oakes, wrote in her report, "Victim's location is inconsistent with voluntary movement. No clear path from last known position to recovery site. Circumstances defy logical explanation." In her private notes, obtained through FOIA request, she wrote something else. "The river took him, but it didn't keep him where it should have. It put him somewhere we'd find him. Like it was showing us what it could do." Patricia Oakes retired 2 months after that search. She never worked another search and rescue mission. Derek's wife, Amanda, received his belongings from the Park Service. Along with his gear was a laminated card, a camping safety protocol card issued by rangers. At the top, highlighted in yellow by a ranger's hand, "Never camp alone near water," and written in pen beneath it, "People who break this rule don't come back, or come back wrong. We find them in places they couldn't reach." Ranger Oakes, the Park Service, called it an accidental death, filed the report, closed the case. But search and rescue teams in Olympic National Park still tell Derek Lawson's story to new recruits. Not as a cautionary tale about hypothermia or river danger, as a warning about what happens when you camp too close to the water, alone, at night. Because the sound of the river, that beautiful, soothing white noise Derek loved, it masks other sounds, footsteps, breathing, something approaching your tent. And if you're alone, if you're too close to the water, if you can't hear what's coming, the river doesn't just take you. It moves you, places you, arranges you, and no one can explain how. Case 2. Never follow animal sounds at night. Location: Great Smoky Mountains National Park, Tennessee. Date: October 2019. Missing person: Claire Morgan, 29, wildlife photographer. Status: missing, presumed deceased. The rule: do not investigate animal sounds after dark. Wildlife vocalizations at night can be disorienting and lead hikers away from established trails. If animal sounds persist near camp, remain in tent until daylight. Claire Morgan was a professional wildlife photographer. Her portfolio included bears, elk, mountain lions. She'd spent years in the backcountry capturing North American wildlife. She'd secured a permit for a solo backcountry photography trip in the Smokies. 4 days, 3 nights, targeting fall foliage and black bear activity before hibernation. Claire was meticulous. She filed detailed trip plans, carried 2-way radio, satellite phone, and GPS beacon. She knew the rules. On her second night, camped near Spence Field, she radioed base camp at 9:15 p.m. "Copy. Checking in. All good. Hearing elk calls nearby. Might try for some shots at dawn." At 11:47 p.m., her GPS beacon activated the emergency function. But she didn't activate the 2-way distress call, just the location beacon. Search and rescue reached her campsite by first light. The tent was empty. Door unzipped from the inside. Camera equipment inside, untouched. Phone and radio sitting on her sleeping bag. But her headlamp, jacket, and boots were gone. She'd left the tent voluntarily, dressed for night hiking. Her tracks led away from camp, heading northwest into dense forest. Off trail. Following no established path. Search teams followed the tracks for 2 miles. The footprints were erratic, sometimes running, sometimes walking, sometimes stopping completely, as if she was pausing, listening. At mile marker 3, they found her headlamp, turned off, placed on top of a flat rock. Not dropped, not lost, placed. The tracks continued another half-mile, then ended. Not at a cliff or river, not at any natural barrier. The footprints just stopped in the middle of a clearing, as if Claire had simply ceased to exist mid-step. Search teams expanded the radius. Helicopters with thermal imaging. Ground teams with dogs. They searched for 11 days. On day 5, they found her jacket, hanging from a tree branch 12 feet off the ground, neatly draped, as if someone had carefully placed it there. The tree had no low branches, no way to climb it without equipment. On day 9, a ranger named Tom Bradshaw found something that made him call for his supervisor immediately, a series of photographs. Claire's camera, the one left in her tent, had photos she must have taken before disappearing. The last 47 photos were all taken that night, time-stamped between 11:32 p.m. and 11:46 p.m., minutes before her GPS beacon activated. The photos showed the forest at night, flash illuminating trees. Nothing visible in most frames, but in 7 of the photos, eyes, reflecting the camera flash, dozens of eyes, at different heights, different sizes, all watching the camera. And in the final photo, taken at 11:46 p.m., a shape, roughly human-sized, standing at the edge of the frame, but wrong, too tall, limbs too long, posture wrong. The timestamp on that photo, 11:46 p.m., the GPS, beacon activation, 11:47 p.m. Claire saw something, photographed it, and 1 minute later she hit her emergency beacon. But she didn't call for help. She didn't activate her radio. She just turned on the beacon and walked into the forest. Tom Bradshaw was convinced Claire had been following something. "The tracks show pursuit behavior," he wrote in his report. Victim was moving quickly, but deliberately, as if following something she could see or hear. A wildlife expert reviewed the photos, the eyes reflected in the camera flash. Not consistent with any known North American species. Wrong placement. Wrong size. Wrong reflective quality. The investigation interviewed Claire's family. Her mother mentioned something Claire had said during their last phone call. "Mom, I keep hearing elk bugles at night, really close to camp, but they sound off, wrong pitch. I want to get it on camera, but rangers in the Smokies know. Sometimes something else makes that sound. Something that learned how to mimic elk, how to draw curious photographers into the forest at night." Claire Morgan was never found. Her camera was returned to her family. The Park Service classified it as a, quote, probable wildlife encounter resulting in disorientation and disappearance. But Tom Bradshaw retired 6 months later. In an interview with a local newspaper, he said, "I've worked search and rescue for 23 years. I've seen people lost, injured, killed by animals, killed by weather. This wasn't that. Something called her out of that tent. Something she thought was elk. And whatever it was, it knew exactly how to get her to follow. The rule exists for a reason. Animal sounds at night can be mimicry, can be lures, can be something that learned what draws humans into the dark." Claire Morgan followed the sound, and the sound led her somewhere searchers couldn't reach, somewhere she couldn't come back from. Because in the forest, at night, not everything that sounds like an animal is one. Case 3. Never leave your tent after 2 a.m. Location: Glacier National Park, Montana. Date: August 2020. Missing person: Ryan Torres, 34. Solo backpacker. Status: body found. Manner of death undetermined. The rule: do not exit tent between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. unless emergency situation exists. This time period shows highest incident rate for unexplained disappearances and disorientation events. Ryan Torres was an accountant from Denver who loved solo backpacking. He wasn't reckless. He researched trails, filed permits, carried proper gear. He'd completed dozens of solo trips without incident. In August 2020, he secured a permit for the Highline Trail in Glacier. 4 days, camping at designated backcountry sites. Night 2, he was camped at Granite Park. His last check-in via satellite phone was at 8:30 p.m. All good, tired, going to sleep early. At 2:17 a.m., another hiker camped 300 yards away. A man named David Chen woke to the sound of someone walking past his tent. Footsteps. A headlamp beam sweeping through the trees. David called out, Everything okay? A voice. Male. Calm. Yeah, just need to check something. David went back to sleep. At 6 a.m., David broke camp and hiked past Ryan's campsite. The tent was empty. Door unzipped. Sleeping bag still inside. All of Ryan's gear was there. Pack, food, water, phone, GPS. But Ryan's headlamp, boots, and jacket were gone. They found Ryan's tracks leading away from camp, heading uphill, off trail, following no logical path. The tracks led 3 miles into increasingly difficult terrain. Rock fields, scree slopes, areas requiring careful navigation even in daylight. At 11 a.m., they found Ryan. He was at 400 feet elevation, 200 feet higher than his campsite, on a rocky ridge with no trail access. Sitting on a boulder, facing east, watching the sunrise, he was alive. But he was unresponsive, eyes open, breathing, but not reacting to the search team, not speaking. Just sitting, staring. They evacuated him via helicopter to Kalispell Regional Medical Center. Ryan remained unresponsive for 16 hours. When he finally came to, he had no memory of leaving his tent, no memory of hiking 3 miles uphill in the dark, no memory of the last 8 hours. The medical team found no drugs, no alcohol, no head injury, no signs of seizure or stroke. Neurological tests were normal. But Ryan had no explanation for what happened. In his statement to Rangers, he said, "I remember going to sleep around 9 p.m. The next thing I remember is waking up in the hospital. There's just nothing in between." But David Chen, the hiker who heard him walking, was certain about the time, 2:17 a.m. He'd checked his watch when he heard the footsteps, and he remembered the voice. "Yeah, just need to check something." When Rangers played David's testimony for Ryan, he became visibly distressed. "That's my voice. But I didn't say that. I don't remember saying that." The search team who found Ryan noted something strange in their report. Victim was positioned facing east, awaiting sunrise, hands folded in lap. Posture suggested he'd been sitting for extended period. No signs of exhaustion, hypothermia, or distress, despite 3-mile climb at night over technical terrain. One ranger, Maria Santos, noted, "It looked like he'd been placed there, like he was waiting for something. Or someone placed him there to wait." Ryan Torres was physically unharmed, but he never returned to backpacking. In a follow-up interview 6 months later, he said, "I have dreams about it now. In the dreams, I'm awake. I'm walking, but I'm not controlling my body. I'm just going somewhere. Something is making me go, and I can't stop." Glacier National Park has documented 47 similar incidents since 2001. Hikers leaving tents between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., found hours later with no memory, found in locations they couldn't explain reaching, or not found at all. The Park Service calls it sleepwalking or parasomnia events triggered by altitude. But rangers who've worked these cases know it's something else. Because sleepwalkers don't hike 3 miles uphill over technical terrain without injury. Sleepwalkers don't respond to questions in calm, coherent voices. And sleepwalkers don't end up sitting on remote ridges, positioned perfectly to watch the sunrise, with no memory of how they got there. The rule exists because something happens between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., something that makes people leave their tents. Something that makes them walk, something that guides them to specific locations. And the people who follow that urge, the ones who exit their tents during those hours, they're found, sometimes, but they're never the same. They can't explain where they went, what they did, what they saw, because whatever takes you during those hours doesn't want you to remember. It just wants you to go where it leads. And Ryan Torres is one of the lucky ones. Because he came back. Case 4. All 3 rules broken. Location: Yosemite National Park, California. Date: June 2021. Missing person: Sarah Chen, 27. Experienced solo hiker. Status: missing. Case remains open. The rules broken. Camped alone within 20 feet of Merced River. followed what she believed were coyote calls away from camp at 11:30 p.m., left her tent at 2:34 a.m., time-stamped from tent camera. Sarah Chen was a software engineer from San Francisco who solo-hiked regularly. She was methodical about safety, filed detailed trip plans, carried satellite communication, and had completed wilderness first aid training. She'd been planning this trip for months, 5 days in Yosemite's backcountry, photographing the Merced River under the full moon in June. Against protocol, she requested and received a permit to camp at an undesignated site near the river. The rangers approved it reluctantly, with written warnings about camping near water alone. Sarah set up a time-lapse camera inside her tent, standard for photographers who want to capture long exposure shots without staying awake. The camera was set to take a photo every 30 seconds throughout the night. She checked in via satellite messenger at 9:45 p.m. Camp set up. River is gorgeous. Perfect conditions for moonlight shots. That was her last communication. When Sarah didn't check in the following evening, rangers initiated a search. They found her camp at dawn. Tent standing. Sleeping bag empty. All her gear present, except her headlamp and phone. But they found something invaluable, the time-lapse camera. Still recording. The Park Service reviewed the footage. What they saw has never been publicly released, but the incident report provides timestamps and descriptions. 9:58 p.m. Sarah enters tent, settles into sleeping bag. 10:15 p.m. Sarah appears asleep. 11:28 p.m. Sarah sits up suddenly, listening. 11:31 p.m. Sarah exits tent, visible briefly in frame. 11:47 p.m. Sarah returns to tent, appears agitated. 12:03 a.m. Sarah lies down, appears to sleep. 2:34 a.m. Sarah sits bolt upright, exits tent immediately. The camera continued recording until the battery died at 6:17 a.m. Sarah never returned. Rangers interviewed nearby campers. One couple, camped half a mile downstream, reported hearing coyote calls around 11:30 p.m. Really close, really loud, but they sounded wrong. Too rhythmic, too purposeful. Sarah had left her tent at 11:31 p.m., 1 minute after the couple heard the calls. Search teams found her tracks leading away from camp at 11:31 p.m. The footprints showed she'd walked approximately 200 yards northwest, then returned to camp. She'd gone to investigate the sounds. But the tracks from 2:34 a.m. were different. These led directly to the river, into the water, and stopped. No tracks coming back. No signs of struggle. No evidence of entry. The tracks just ended at the water's edge. Divers searched the river for 3 days. Nothing. On day 4, a helicopter crew spotted something. A headlamp. Turned on. Sitting on a rock in the middle of the Merced River, 400 yards downstream from Sarah's camp. The rock was 15 feet from either shore. Accessible only by swimming, but the current was strong enough that reaching it would require expert swimming skills. The headlamp was Sarah's, still functioning, placed carefully on the flat surface of the rock, not wedged in cracks, not damaged. Placed. On day 8, hikers on the Mist Trail found Sarah's phone, 5 miles from her campsite, on a trail she had no reason to be on. The phone was turned off but undamaged. When rangers powered it on, they found the last thing Sarah had typed. An unsent text message, timestamped 2:41 a.m. It's not coyotes. It knows I'm here. It's calling me. I have to go see. I have to. The message cuts off. Sarah Chen was never found. Her camera footage was reviewed by behavioral analysts. Their conclusion: subject exhibits normal sleep patterns until 11:28 p.m., when she appears to hear something external. Subject's reaction at 2:34 a.m. shows no hesitation. Immediate exit from tent suggests strong compulsion or perceived emergency. No signs of distress or fear in body language. The ranger who led the search, James Denton, submitted a classified report. Portions obtained through FOIA request include: victim violated 3 primary safety protocols: camping alone near water, investigating nocturnal animal sounds, exiting tent during high-risk hours, 2 to 4 a.m. Disappearances consistent with pattern observed in 23 similar cases since 2009. Evidence suggests victim was lured from campsite by auditory stimulus, entered water voluntarily, and relocated to unknown secondary location. No evidence of foul play. No evidence of accidental death. Circumstances indicate possible interaction with unknown phenomenon specific to riverside camping in isolated areas. And in his personal notes, something called her. First at 11:30 p.m., she investigated but came back. Then, at 2:34 a.m., when resistance is lowest, when judgment is impaired. That time she didn't come back. The headlamp on the rock? That's a signature. We've seen it before. It's showing us it took her. It's marking its territory. Sarah Chen's disappearance remains unsolved. Her family created a foundation for wilderness safety. Her story is now taught in ranger training as a case study in protocol violations. Because Sarah didn't break 1 rule, she broke 3. She camped alone near water, where sounds are masked and escape routes are limited. She followed animal sounds at night, sounds that weren't animals, sounds that were drawing her away from safety. And she left her tent at 2:34 a.m. during the window when disappearances peak, when something in the wilderness is most active. She broke all 3 rules, and the forest kept her. 4 people, 4 rules broken, 0 came home. Derek Lawson camped alone 15 feet from the river, found dead on a cliff he couldn't have climbed, 6 miles from his tent. Claire Morgan followed elk sounds into the forest at 11:46 p.m. Never found. Her jacket discovered hanging 12 feet high in a tree with no low branches. Ryan Torres left his tent at 2:17 a.m. Found alive 3 miles away, 200 feet higher in elevation, with no memory of hiking there in the dark. Sarah Chen broke all 3 rules, camped near water, followed coyote calls, left her tent at 2:34 a.m. Never found. Her headlamp discovered on a rock in the middle of the river, placed there deliberately. These aren't cautionary tales about being careful. These are warnings about what happens when you violate specific protocols in the wilderness. Experienced rangers don't follow these rules out of superstition. They follow them because they've seen the incident reports. They've worked the searches. They've found the bodies, or haven't found them at all. The rules exist because the pattern is undeniable. Camp alone near water, and the sound of the river masks what's approaching. You won't hear it until it's too late. Follow animal sounds at night, and you're following something that learned how to mimic prey. Something that knows exactly how to lure you away from safety. Leave your tent between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., and something guides you, takes you somewhere, places you somewhere. And when you wake up, if you wake up, you can't explain how you got there. Break all 3? You don't come back. You become another missing person's case file. Another family waiting for answers. Another ranger refusing to discuss what they found. The wilderness has rules, not laws, not suggestions. Rules, written by people who learned them the hard way. People who broke them and disappeared. People who broke them and were found wrong. So the next time you're planning a backcountry trip, remember these 4 people. Camp 150 feet from water. Don't investigate sounds at night. Stay in your tent between 2 and 4 a.m. because the rules aren't arbitrary. They're the only thing standing between you and becoming a case file that rangers whisper about. A story they tell new recruits. A warning they give hikers who think they know better. Follow the rules. All of them. Every time. Your life depends on understanding that the wilderness isn't empty. It's watching. It's listening. It's waiting. And it knows exactly which rules you're going to break.